Hello, Hojoz here, and welcome back to Forza Horizon 4, where today we are going to drive a Lancia 037 across a custom circuit located in the North City Cross Country Circuit starting line with the name North City 80s Race. It has a length of 3 kilometers. My fastest lap around it is a 1:27.062. My lap count is 13, and yeah, it is going to be an all asphalt race because I have always thought that the Lancia 037 really looked like a race car, a touring car, more than anything, while it has actually participated in the Group B class of rally racing and has won the Constructors' Championship there in 1983. Anyway, let's go. The first corner here is a hairpin, always fun to start off with, followed by a left-hander and a straight, which, well, it's a straight, so I can't really comment on that, followed by a double apex right-hander right here, which is quite hard to nail as you brake for the first part, and you basically have to hope that you are set up correctly for the second part. And here another kind of hairpin double apex thing, basically a U-turn, followed by a right-hander and then a left-hander. Here also have to get the braking correctly or you'll nail yourself into the wall on the right, and or there on the left go back onto the track. A bit of a jump there, followed by a left, right, left, if I have seen that correctly, followed by another U-turn, back on the streets now with a little bit more space, left and right. This is a section where you can really gain some speed by placing your car correctly. Left and then a right here. And then we are basically back on the start-finish straight, which has some bends, but apart from that, it is basically flat out. And then here, of course, you brake before the starting line for the hairpin. Now, my runs here approximately equaled the times of the AI, so we won't be seeing any AI overtakes. And I've also discovered that you can take a lot of lines through some parts of this circuit. As you'll see later in the video, I started experimenting a bit with the lines, trying to get some lap speed out of it. And basically seeing if I could go any faster than the clock time I had at that moment. And of course, my fastest lap here is a 1:27.0, which I achieved in one of the last laps. It's especially the hairpins and the U-turns and this part here where you can cut across to the left right here and go behind those guardrails and gain a little bit of extra straight line speed. And then here, if you get the braking and exit correctly, of course, it's an exit onto a straight, so that is also going to help you a lot with lap time. And of course, nailing the first corner is pretty essential as well, because well, I mean, it's the first corner. I think there is some lap speed there as well. But yeah, it might be an odd choice choosing to build a Lancia 037 as a road car instead of a rally car. But as I said in the intro, I have always thought that it looked more like a touring car than a WRC car. Despite that though, this car was active in the Group B segment of the WRC from 1982 to 1986, and as I said, it has won one Constructors' Championship in that time in 1983, which, from what I have seen and read, was quite controversial because Lancia made very nice, a very nice interpretation of the rules, at least nice for them, not really nice for Audi, which in that year their driver Hannu Mikkola won the driver championship, so unfortunately there wasn't any luck for Lancia there. And of course this car, most famously driven by Walter Rowe, Marco Allen, Henry Toivonen and Antio Bettega, which the latter unfortunately fatally crashed with the car in the Rally of Corsica in 1985. So it's quite sad, but let's not forget Lancia doesn't really have the best of safety records. Also, from what I've seen in the 90s, the early 90s, someone bought a Lancia 037 and entered it into the Japanese Touring Car Championship, which didn't go as successfully as its rally career, but well, it happened nonetheless. And of course this car was most famously known with a Martini livery and a semi-open back end, which was achieved by removing the rear bumper, which I opted against since, well, it kind of fitted the livery, it kind of fitted the car, so I thought it should be on there. Though originally I intended to leave the rear bumper off because semi-open rear ends, god, they are sexy, at least to me. But yeah, the livery I went with here is one of my favorite liveries of the current age, the BWT livery. Mostly used in touring car championships, though it also has had a Formula One career from 2017 to 2020. Unfortunately, will not appear on the grid in 2021 because, like, I really like these pink cars, the pink livery. I really like it, as we lose a mirror there. Oh well, you don't need a mirror when you're hot lapping and are never ever going to encounter any other cars. Yeah, I really like the livery, and I thought to myself, why not combine one of my all-time favorite cars with one of my all-time favorite liveries, and that is why I chose to go with BWT for the livery on this car, which I personally think it really worked out well. I went with the period correct sponsors of Lancia in the 80s. Apart from, of course, Martini, which I removed for BWT. And yeah, it is basically quite a beautiful car based on the Lancia Beta Monte Carlo, but of course we all know it as the Lancia 037 since, well, if you look at pictures from a Lancia Beta Monte Carlo and a Lancia 037, it is quite clear that the Lancia 037, while in basis might represent a Lancia Beta Monte Carlo, it doesn't really look like it in detail, and especially on the back end of the car, in my opinion. This car, of course, designed by Pininfarina, a very famous design house, and manufactured by Abarth, which might be better known to you for their Fiat cars, but since they were in the Fiat branch of companies, which at the time and still does include Fiat Abarth and Lancia, they decided to hand the chassis development and building to the Abarth brand, which honestly I don't really get. I really thought the car was made by Lancia themselves, but apparently it wasn't. A very nice corner there, a bit of a jump though, but taking full advantage of the track I've been given there. Yeah, I really just like the car. I like the brand as well, despite the fact that they had 3 drivers killed in their cars and were, I guess, responsible for ending Group B rallying. But it was for the better, as Group B and the proposed Group S regulations which went beyond what the technology could do at the time in terms of brakes and safety. This car constructed with a steel space frame and Kevlar body, as far as I know. These cars were quite prone to burning, as was demonstrated by Henry Toivonen's crash in the successor of this car, the Lancia Delta S4, which was developed because it was quite obvious when Audi entered Group B with 4-wheel drive that 4-wheel drive was the way to go. And of course, the title of 1983 that Lancia achieved was the last title for a 2-wheel drive car in the WRC. Going on from that, in Group A and the later WRC regulations, all the cars were 4-wheel drive, which yeah, this car was basically the end of the period. Before you say that Group B had 2 classes, a 2-wheel drive and a 4-wheel drive version, that is actually not correct, because they competed alongside and under the same class as each other, but the 4-wheel drive cars are so obviously better that some games have elected to separate the 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive models to get a bit more balance into the car or into the game. Really taking advantage of the track limits there, nearly crashing into a building as we head on to the 9th of 13 laps already. Really just a corner cut there, but as I said, as this run went on, I was trying to gain more and more lap time. So you'll see me just trying different lines as shown here, going wide for the first part, setting myself up nicely for the second part of the corner, which should have given me a better drive. I don't know if it did, because like I'm not a professional racing driver, I don't really know what the racing lines on this course would and should be. So I'm just guessing and seeing what gains me the most amount of lap time. Of course, they're not making any sort of corner anymore there, instead electing to go for a straight line approach on that jumpy bit. And here, as I said earlier in the video, going behind the fences, just trying to get a little bit more straight line speed. And as you've seen earlier as well, just trying to get every bit of the track, making use of every bit of the track, trying to get as smooth of a steering input as possible, which isn't that isn't that easy on my controller. would be easier on the steering wheel, I'd imagine. But yeah, just having the right skill on the controller makes all the difference, honestly. By the way, I don't think I have mentioned this car's class yet. It is an A-class car, which, yeah, I don't really know why I went for A-class, perhaps because S1 and above really just is are classes where four-wheel drive is better, and I elected to keep my Lancia 037 rear-wheel drive because, well, making it four-wheel drive would kind of go against the spirit of a car that last won a title for two-wheel drive cars in WRC. At least I personally think that would go against the spirit of the car. And if this was a Delta HF Integrale or a Delta S4, which, if I recall correctly, in Forza already comes with four-wheel drive, I would have definitely four-wheel drive swapped it. But yeah, it's just not in the spirit of the car, if you ask me. Yeah, as you can see, just really trying to cut the apexes as much as I can, as much as possible. Just trying to get a whole lot of lap speed out of the car. And as far as the other cars go that are going around this circuit, they are mostly 80s rally cars. Although I think I did include the Fiat 131 Abarth, which is of course a 70s rally car. Did compete still in 1981, so I guess it's what you make of it. Having a nice corner there, not hitting the bikes. And of course here on the left of the fencing, just trying to get all of the speed I can out of the car. And all the way to the left here as well. Just really not going at that apex there, but I mean, if it's the fastest lap, then I'm not complaining. Braking before the starting line again. Just hitting the trash can there. Of course not optimal. That'll lose you a few kilometers an hour. So yeah, as I said, not optimal. Shouldn't really do that. Going into the bushes, which I have done on a few laps previous, but it's not really that nice going into those bushes, and again there. And the drift as well. Yeah, you can really see that I'm basically overdriving the car at this point. Trying to get all of the speed that I can out of it, and I have no doubt that a 126 or maybe even a 125 can be achieved with this car on this track. Just that I'm not the best driver for it. As far as I know, I have actually messed around with the tune on this car. Probably just the ride height and the gearing, which I always really give attention to, because sometimes the gearing is just so awful that it either only gets you acceleration or only gets you straight line speed, and that means that's, especially on the start, it's not really advantageous. As we head on to the last lap, again a bit of a drift. This car can indeed still drift despite being on race tires and race suspension and having the widest rear tire possible. You can really see that I'm trying to get as much speed out of the car as possible, but as far as I know, this wasn't my fastest lap. I think either lap 12 or lap 11 was the fastest lap for me. Anyway, we are heading towards the end of the video, as I crash the car into the wall. It's not very smart of me. As we are heading to the end of the video, so if you enjoyed, please do share and please do like. And please do comment on maybe what car you want me to do next or what livery you want me to do next. Yeah, if you really enjoyed the video and don't mind having approximately 4 videos a year from one channel as suddenly my rear wing disappears, you can also subscribe. I guess I can get to 100 subscribers before the end of the year, at least attempt to. Anyway, we are heading towards the outro. Bureaucratic. Boys,